By Forever Remodeling, stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Who was it that said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration? That was Thomas Edison. Israel's Mossad quietly laid the groundwork for the country's massive military campaign against Iran by building a secret explosive drone base near Tehran that destroyed a bevy of ballistic missile launchers, preventing Tehran from quickly retaliating against Israel. Mossad releasing footage early Friday of its drones conducting precision strikes on Iranian air defense systems and ballistic missile launchers at a military installation near Tehran. The stealth sabotage campaign reportedly took out Iran's air defenses and gave Israeli planes air supremacy and freedom of action to launch hundreds of strikes on Tehran's nuclear sites, its senior military commanders, and scientists, according to the Times of Israel. A third covert effort involved Mossad commandos deploying precision missiles near anti-aircraft sites in central Iran. Israeli spies also successfully surveilled senior Iranian military commanders, security officials, and scientists tied to its nuclear program, allowing Israeli defense forces to assassinate them en masse. First the pagers for the Hezbollah's terrorist leaders, and now this program for the Iranian mullahs and their functionaries. Bibi Netanyahu had this to say about the operation.
And I can tell you this, we have indications that senior leaders in Iran are already packing their bags. They sense what's coming. I'll tell you what would have come if we hadn't acted. We had information that this unscrupulous regime was planning to give the nuclear weapons that they would develop to their terrorist proxies. That's nuclear terrorism on steroids. That would threaten the entire world. This is what Israel is doing with the support, the clear support of the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and the American people, and many others in the world. So with God's help, and with the goodwill and resolution of all free societies, we shall win.
President Trump saying that the idea of cutting a deal with Iran or negotiating some kind of armistice between Iran and Israel is a bit more challenging right now, not just because of the strikes and Iran's attempted retaliation, 400 dead on the Iranian side, reportedly 13 dead on the Israeli side, but also because, this is what he said to Bret Baier, quote, Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb, and we are hoping to get back to the negotiating table. We will see. There are several people in leadership that will not be coming back. Need a new negotiating team over there in Tehran. So the prospect of regime change, I mean, it's not for Israel to say or America to say, but Bibi, when he was on with Bret Baier, said, well, it's a possible outcome as there has been an opening provided, more or less, he so indicated.
Could certainly be the result because the Iran regime is very weak. I think it's basically left with two things. It's plans to have atomic bombs and ballistic missiles. That's basically what Iran has. They certainly don't have the people. 80% of the people will throw these theological thugs out. I mean, they murder them. They oppress them for 46 years. They've yearned for freedom. I mean, they shoot women because their hair is uncovered. They shoot students. They just suck the oxygen from this brave and gifted people, the Iranian people. And, the Persian people and the Jewish people have had an ancient friendship. Goes back to the times of Cyrus the Great. That could happen again. But again, the decision to act, to rise up at this time is the decision of the Iranian people. We decided to act because we saw enough uranium, enriched uranium, for 9 bombs. And all they had to do was weaponize them. We stopped that. We're attacking their nuclear sites. We attacked their chief nuclear scientists working. It's like Hitler's nuclear scientists. Would you leave them? Of course not. We attacked their top command. I can inform you, Brett, that moments ago, we also got the chief intelligence officer and his deputy in Tehran, because we're now over the skies of Tehran. Our pilots, our brave pilots, are over the skies of Tehran, and we're targeting military sites, nuclear sites. That's what we're doing to take out those two threats. Unlike the Iranians, who your reporter said correctly, they're targeting our civilians.
Yeah.
They're bombing our civilians. So that's the difference. They're a terrorist regime. We can't have Iran have nuclear weapons. And by the way, our intel shows that they intend to give these nuclear weapons to their Houthi proxies and others. And that's nuclear terrorism on a global scale. It threatens everyone. And the last thing is they have plans to develop intercontinental ballistic missiles. Right now, 8,000 kilometers, very soon, just out a little distance, and they can reach the eastern seaboard of the United States. These people who chant death to America, tried to assassinate President Trump twice, killed 241 of your Marines in Beirut, killed and injured thousands of American soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq, tried to bomb a restaurant in Washington, D.C., chant death to America, burn the American flag. Do you want these people to have nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them to your cities? Of course not.
For more on this, please be joined by Stephen Bucci for a weekly conversation. Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. Now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's not like we don't have a lot to talk about.
Correct.
Where to start?
Anything that Bibi said or Israel did that troubles you?
Absolutely not. This was an existential threat, clearly to Israel, and by the way, to a lot of other places, us, our allies in the area, and the Israelis waited as long as they could. It appears that they've cut the margin down so close. They were using the time, getting people in place, getting plans in place, gathering intel, but they waited, gave President Trump a chance to try and negotiate with these guys. The mullahs are not interested in really negotiating in anything akin to good faith. They're just, they're really good negotiators because they lie, they dissemble, they promise one thing so they can get another. They're really good at that, and everybody in the region knows that. It didn't seem like the Biden or the Obama administrations understood it, and they're kind of the same folks. Anyway, what the Israelis did was elegant. It was as precisely targeted as anything in warfare can ever be, and they took. They've really defanged Iran right now. Now, there's other people saying, "Oh, but 9 missiles got through. This is a failure." Okay, if your goal is perfection, then yes, I guess that's a failure. Again, warfare is never about perfection. It's always about overwhelming your enemy, doing as much as you can. And I would remind everybody that every time the Iranians fire another missile, drone, whatever it is that they still might have towards Israel, there's a whole bunch of Israeli intel guys and gals sitting there taking in all the data, putting it into the target list, and within a couple of hours after that site is active, it's gone. So, the Iranians could keep shooting if they want, and a few might get through, but every time they do it, they're having less and less capacity to defend themselves against anybody. And last point, the Israelis are not the only ones that have a hard time with the Iranians. We see the Jordanians joining in, the Saudis joining in. Almost every Sunni Muslim country in the Middle East sees Iran as a far bigger threat than Israel ever was to them. They recognize Israel just wants to do business. If you'd leave them alone and just cut contracts with them, let them build things, sell things back and forth, they wouldn't be bothering anybody. But if you're going to attack them, like Iran has done for a long, long time, it's bad things are going to happen.
Well, how should the United States balance support for Israel with avoiding direct military conflict with Iran?
Well, I think they've done a pretty masterful job of that. They have shown, the world knows the United States with this president is willing to support Israel. And if Israel is starting to get overwhelmed, we're going to step in and we're going to help them.
Well, Fox News, just on that score, Fox News reported over the weekend that American forces are assisting Israel in shooting down Iranian missiles.
Yeah, well, that was an already in place procedure and plan that we've used before. We didn't shut those down during this time. They continued to do what they were doing before. But there's no plan for American planes to start bombing Iran unless Iran does something that pushes President Trump's decision making over the edge, or to send any troops to go in and invade Iran, anything like that. We are nowhere near World War III, which is what everybody that doesn't want us to do anything keeps saying. This is not leading to World War III, and in fact, this is a massive step to drive back any possibility of World War III by eliminating the capacity of the player on the field, other than maybe Putin, who is most likely to start World War III.
Let's go through some of those arguments that are being advanced. Those World War III arguments that are being advanced. One of them is that this will lead to the BRICS coming together and presenting a military axis that could challenge America and the West.
I think that's fantasy. Right now, Russia is a very large third world country that happens to have nuclear weapons. Their military, other than their nuclear capacity, is second rate to compliment. They're not very good, and they're just their personnel. They're crappy. They're not professional soldiers. Even their senior guys don't really know what they're doing. They can't do logistics. They can't support their own people. All they have is mass, which means a lot of targets. Now, you can't just pass them off. They have nuclear weapons. China has a massive military. It's getting better and better, but their self-press, is way ahead of where they really stand. And their economy is in the same boat. It's big, it can be powerful, but it's not omnipotent, and it is fragile as all get out. And now that we have a president who understands that sort of thing, they understand they're going to have to reel themselves in a bit, or it's going to be a problem. India doesn't want to fight anybody. They just want to do business. I mean, they do want to fight the Pakistanis, but that's different. They're not going after the rest of the world, and they're not worried about Israel doing anything. They're one of Israel's biggest partners. The other BRICS, they're there, but none of them are military powers. So even if you add all the BRICS together, they still couldn't beat us in a fight with the allies that we would have on our side.
The more important point that you're making is that that is a very simplistic understanding of the relationship between those two countries. They all have their separate and unique interests, and the idea that they're going to come together to rally around Iran and expand the war between Israel and the West would be foolhardy for them. So why would they do that?
Yeah, I mean, this is the argument you always get. Oh, well, what if China and Russia get together? Well, they give each other support. They sell things to each other because they have trouble in some cases selling those products to other people. But it's not like they have common interests other than being a pain in the neck to us. And that's not enough interest to cause them to sync up their military plans together because they don't trust each other.
The another argument that's advanced is we've been hearing Iran is 8 months away, a year away, 5 years away from those nuclear ballistic missiles Netanyahu referenced. We've been hearing that for 30 years. And David Harsanyi addressed that, actually, our friend David Harsanyi. this idea that we've been hearing it for years, so you shouldn't believe this is like WMD redux is the argument being made. How do we know this is Iraq all over again? And Harsanyi writes that talking point only works on ignoramuses who've never heard of Stuxnet or the many other delays thrown at Iran's nuclear program by both the U.S. and Israel. What's your reaction to the back and forth on that topic?
I think, look, even the UN organizations have started to say, they are kind of breaking the rules that they agreed to. So the Iranians are trying like heck to get nuclear weapons the whole time, trying to keep it as under the table as they can. Say no, it's just a peaceful plan. It's okay. Come on, what nation in the world that doesn't sell anything but oil and pistachio nuts needs intercontinental ballistic missiles? What are you using an intercontinental ballistic missile for, right? You can't deliver rugs with them. You can't deliver pistachios. You only deliver weapons. So to say that they don't have them, look, we know they're close because Israel acted. Israel could have acted 10 years ago if you're using this calculus. They waited until this past week to do it because in their calculation, now Iran was at that level of threat to them, time-wise, that they felt they had to act. They've got the best human intelligence collection capability in that region of anybody in the world, way better than ours. We have the best technical collection capabilities. Theirs is almost all human intelligence, and it's turned out to be pretty darned effective. So I would agree with Harsanyi. This is a real threat, was a real threat when Israel acted. It's way less of a threat today than it was less than a week ago.
Tucker Carlson has stirred the pot again on the topic among conservatives. He posted on X, the real divide isn't between people who support Israel and people who support Iran or the Palestinians. The real divide is between those who casually encourage violence and those who seek to prevent it, between warmongers and peacemakers. Who are the warmongers? They would include anyone who's calling Donald Trump today to demand airstrikes and other direct U.S. military involvement in a war with Iran. On that list are Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, Rupert Murdoch, Ike Perlmutter, and Miriam Adelson. At some point, they will all have to answer for this, but you should know their names now.
I used to really like Tucker. I thought he was a great guy. He's very bright. But his trail that he's done in the last couple of years, this isolationist view that he's taken, for one thing, he offers absolutely no proof for any of his prognostications. It's just like, if you want to go to war, you're a bad guy. Okay, I'm not going to defend the names that he listed, but one, Israel hasn't asked us to directly attack Iran, to my knowledge, and President Trump is still saying, look, war's bad. Let's get past this and move on. But he is letting an ally determine their own national interests, having some input into it, but he's not trying to dictate to Israel what they have to do because they're not a client. They're an ally. Look, I don't want the United States to get in another war in the Middle East. 2 decades of it is enough. However, we can't just roll up the gangplanks and call it a day in that region. We have huge interests in that region. And so we've got to play some sort of positive role. And it's not always just to stand there and go, no, everybody calm down, be good, when we know at least one side is never going to be good because their core goal of everything they do, every bit of their security strategy is to destroy an ally and, oh, by the way, if possible, destroy us.
Well, and the other thing, too, is this guy, Daryl Cooper, who's supposed to be this sort of maverick historian. He has been platformed by Tucker by Joe Rogan. He responded on X to the question, should the U.S. get involved in Israel's war against Iran? Daryl Cooper, this alleged rogue historian, and I do emphasize alleged, particularly with the historian part of it, he said, yes, we should commence airstrikes on Tel Aviv immediately. That's the sort of thing that may lead one to not take you seriously.
Yeah, that's a vacuous comment. I would guess if you dug into that man a little bit, you'd find some anti-Semitism comments popping up here and there. Because if that's the conclusion he's coming to, that this is all Israel's fault, this is like the 1619 project. Man, everything that's ever been bad in the world, it's the Americans' fault. Even when they were just a colony, everything started with that, Jamestown, which, by the way, was a failed colony. It wasn't like that's where our culture all came from. It's that level of historical analysis, sociological analysis, and policy analysis, and I'm not buying it. Look, I've got a PhD too. It doesn't make you any smarter to have that degree. It's what you do with it that matters. So there's a lot of historians and professors that put this stuff out who have never been anywhere, have never done anything, have never had any responsibility for what their decisions might do. So, just listen to them. Some of them are smart, but boy, don't take them at face value. Dig in and find out what it really means. You hear a comment like that, the guy he's not credible.
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. Now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, thanks as always.
It's my pleasure, guys. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yep, thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
As you know, our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life.